Hi everyone, welcome to Kina Informative Talks with Larato and Cherise. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm good. Another episode with you. And today we'll be tackling Irlen syndrome and what it is, the symptoms, the causes, and the strength. And and you also have a journey again with Brendan.
Yes, yes.
And I can't wait for you to share that with our listeners because we get to understand the parents' experiences and how he was diagnosed and getting to understand it better. And what is Irlen syndrome? Let's dive into it.
So it is basically, to put it all in a nutshell, it is the defect in visual pathways from the eye to the brain.
Yeah, so it affects the brain's ability to process information,
Yes.
visual information, that
Yes.
is. And so what are the causes of it? And how you and Brendan got to know that he has Irlen syndrome.
Well, also, this is a very recent one that we've done. I've suspected for a few years, actually. And lately, of late, I took him for the test, and we did a self-assessment test, a self-home assessment test, and then we took him to a professional to do the actual tests.
Yeah,
And he was diagnosed with, he's got Irlen as well.
sure.
Yeah, it's important to know that Irlen is not an optical impairment. It has to do with the wiring from the eye to the brain. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, and there's a story that you really told me, and it just blew my mind how the doctor explained what Irlen is.
Yes.
Do you want to share that with our listeners?
Yes. It's so how the optometrist explained it was the wire that runs from the eye to the brain is very similar to an electrical wire. So when the plastic part gets cut off, you're left with a bunch of copper wires. So that's little nerves running from the eye to the brain. And in Brendan's case, one of those wires had a little bit of a glitch in it, so his eyes would bounce on pages, and that's where that glitch came from. So he would literally see where it's bouncing around, and that causes distraction for him when he's reading. Yes. So yeah, that's basically what it is.
Yep.
So I know the causes, research say that mostly it's hereditary. Most of it's hereditary, yes.
Yeah, sure. So do you have any family background that you know that maybe uncles?
I do actually. My sister, well, actually no, it's not. It's my sister-in-law. They have it. I haven't been tested myself, but I do actually want to get it tested. Yes, based on the symptoms, which we'll discuss in detail. It does have, the symptoms are very similar.
Yeah.
So I would like to get myself tested.
Yeah. So it's things that you obviously, even with Brendan growing up, having a family, that's something that they should be obviously aware of it, that
Yes.
maybe it could, his kids could have Irlen
Yes.
syndrome later in life.
Yes.
Sure. And the good thing is if you know it now and understand it now, obviously with Brendan it was a journey for you, but for him, with his kids, when growing up, it will be a different story because he already knows what it is and he
Yes.
understands it and he'll be able to pick it up quickly,
Yes.
which is just amazing. It shows the work you are doing now as a
Yes.
parent. It will basically help him in the near future.
And it has. It really has. I remember when we went to the optometrist, he showed me what they do they use different color lenses to ease the eye from glitching or bouncing, per se, if you want to call it that. So yeah, it's very interesting how the technologies that they use and how they test it. And it's amazing to see the difference that once they have those classes, it's just it's such a relief. you know?
Yeah, and I remember there was a time with Brendan when we'd use this sort of sheets that are transparent and will put them on a text
Yes.
while he's reading, and you'll see how calm he'll become, and he does not get tired easily because of those sheets of different
Yes.
colors. I would say shades, different
Yes.
color shades, and yeah, then in that way it eases the brain and the eye, and they're able to see the text in a
Yeah.
different way than they are without the shades that they've been using.
You know what is fascinating is the colors that he used in school for his reading cards,
Mhm.
the overlays that they used, is a completely different color to his glasses.
Sure.
And interesting enough, the optometrist that I spoke to told me that it changes when they over time as they develop, it changes. So it's best to do the test when they are young, and again once they've hit adolescence or adulthood, it's good to test it because the card used to be orange during that.
Yeah.
But the glasses are now a mix between blues and purples. Amazing, yeah.
It's really amazing how it has really changed over time, that you wonder if the brain development is growing in that glitch on the brain or what, because of them changing the shades. But obviously it's something that experts would be able to tell us that. And we're going to go to symptoms now. What are the symptoms you noticed with Brendan? Because I know some of the symptoms, the kids in class, you find that they get tired easily, and slow reading their comprehension,
Yes.
because obviously the way they see the text with a wide paper, it makes the eye strain more.
Yes.
So all of those things, you would find that a child gets tired, especially when it comes to English lessons, lessons where it's more intellectually demanding in terms of their left brain, where
Yes.
the reading is more, and where else when they go like to PE, where they're creative, running around, where they are using more of their physical brain, they are more active, and
Yeah.
it's more easier for them because they don't need to concentrate
Yes.
and use their brain. That they, not that they don't use their brain when
Yes.
they're when they're playing, when they're doing PE, they do use it, but in a different way than they're using it when they are reading. So what are the I would say symptoms you saw specifically with Brendan?
He had a lot of sensitivity to light, extreme sensitivity, like it was really predominantly sensitivity to light. He had headaches every day and fatigue, definitely. His eyes would go red, so I could definitely see his eyes were taking strain. Although he's wearing glasses, he's been wearing glasses for the last 4 years, 5 years maybe, and it doesn't help. So that's how I started realizing. And I did the research on Irlen. I've been doing it for a few years now. And then we did, like I said, the self-assessment, and it said most likely that he has it, but we had to take him into a professional who works with Irlen specifically, and who's certified and qualified. And yeah, but the eye sensitivity, fatigue, his eyes took a lot of strain, slow reading, but that's also part of the dyslexia.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things that overlap, and lots of symptoms that it could be this, it could be that. So you have to eliminate things, as I said before. But yeah, those were the main ones, is the sensitivity to light.
Yeah. And I remember there's one of the examples that you told me that you went in a restaurant. And
Yes,
can you tell us?
Of course, we went to a restaurant, and just above us was the flickering light, and it really caught his attention. He was really distracted by this light. When we were having conversations, he kept looking up at the light, missing conversation. And I mean, it really is a big thing for him, is the lights. Even when we drive at night, or if there's a sudden flash, even fluorescent lights, he's got a big sensitivity to light. He actually physically says, "Ow, that hurts."
Sure.
He calls it out, yes.
Yeah. So it really, the light goes in very hard on his eyes,
Yes.
and it shows that there is something with the brain
Yes.
that is connected to. And it's quite important to understand that all of these learning difficulties, most of them, not all of them rather, it has to do with the brain, how
Yes.
it processes things And once we figure out how they process things,
Yeah.
then it's easy to help them. And like you had said with the diagnosis, it's very important as much as the self-assessments,
Yes.
but it's very important to get a specialist on it that
Yes.
works with kids like that, so that it's easier for you to know, and they will do the different assessments of on the brain, the eye, and everything. And yeah, it's really quite important to note that. And one of the things that I just wanted to highlight is that, especially with parents and also teachers, is that to optimize the strength of the learners
Yes.
on other senses. Because if they basically have that, I would say, difficulty with their eye, then it means their touch, their sense of hearing, all of that, we can use that more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can use that more for them to actually interact, to do their work at
Yes.
school, and problem solving. They're very good in problem solving.
Yes.
They because in their lives, with having the difficulty, you have to learn alternatives on how to do certain things. They're imaginative, creative, they're good storytellers, and they're good in oral.
Yes.
Like with Brendan, when he speaks, he would normally tell a story, and you could just hear that it's just all his imagination.
Yes.
And you could hear that how far he can imagine than an average child, because obviously there are certain things that are barriers with him in his eyes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's quite interesting.
I always say, use their strengths. I mean, that's the easiest way to go with anything that is neurodiverse and that has struggles with neurological impairments. It's always use their strengths, because that's how you build confidence, and confidence is such a massive thing to me. It's also interesting, just like everything else, to know that there is different severities of each neurodiversity issue that you get.
On the spectrum, like
Yes.
kids with autism.
Yeah.
So some of them can be mild, moderate.
Yes.
So it depends with the diagnosis. So it is quite important that we understand that some kids, the light sensitivity won't be as the same, or sometimes they won't have that symptom. They will have another symptom.
Yes.
So because it differs with each child, and even their brain, their neurobiological diversity. So it's something that we should look up for that, right? Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Glenna Informative Talk. If you want to find out more and see how Irlen students, or people rather, see things, please watch the video down in the description. Like our video, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Next week, we'll be looking into another interesting topic, so please watch out for that and tune in. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next week.